Hi, welcome to this new video tutorial. This is an entire Python course for beginners in just one video. But before starting, let me tell you two things. Why Python and who is this course for? Why Python? Well, for two reasons. With Python you can do a lot of things, so if you're interested in web development, data analysis, automation, machine learning, deep learning, computer vision and much more, then Python is probably one of the languages that you would like to learn. And also Python is at the moment one of the most popular programming languages. To reply to the second question, who is this course for? This course is for absolute beginners who have zero knowledge about programming languages in general and zero knowledge about Python, because we're going to cover everything from scratch, from the installation to all the basic concepts of Python and programming in general. If you already know Python, you might want to check out the rest of my channel where I have more than 80 videos with advanced stuff where I teach computer vision using Python. Otherwise, keep watching and let's start. Python is an external program that we have to download and install. An installation, whether you are on Windows, Mac or Linux, is really simple and fast. So we go on python.org, then we see download. And now I'm going to show this one for Windows, but if you are on Linux or Mac, I will put some really simple instructions on the blog so you can check the link in the description to follow them. And here we download Python with Windows. I have Python 3.8.3 at the moment, but if there is a newer version, you can download the one at the time you are watching this video. And so I have already Python downloaded. I'm going to download it again. And now once it is downloaded, we open it. And now here is the installation. We do first thing, add Python 3.8 to path. So make sure you mark this one and then install now. And that's it. When you see setup was successful, the installation is finished. Now we will see how to run Python. So once we've installed Python, we're going to run Python. If you are on Mac or Linux, you are going to need to open a terminal and then type Python 3 and press enter, and that's the only thing you need to do to run Python. On Windows, instead, we can search here for idle, and here we see idle Python 3.8 or the version that you have. We click here and then we will see this. And we have two different types of idle. One is this where we see 3 right arrows, and this is made for a really simple and fast operation because it is interactive in real time. So whatever we do here, 5 plus 5 plus 5, 10, print, and we can print something high. So we put an operation, we press enter, and in real time it gives us an output. So this is done for real-time operations. Then if we want to develop a more structured program, we go on file and then we create a new Python file. So what we see, it is just like a text editor where we put our code. So we write here the code and then we save this as Python file and then we can run our program. We will start learning the basic concepts of Python on this interactive shell because it will be much faster to see what we're doing, and then at the end we will start using the Python file. The Python idle can use to make mathematical operations which in Python are called expressions. So we have the sum, the subtraction, the division, the multiplication, and a few others that we will see. Let's, for example, take a look at the sum. If we want to sum two numbers, 5 plus 5, we can do that here. And we just press enter and we will get the result in real time. Then we can check also the subtraction. So the subtraction between two numbers, 20 minus 5. So 20 minus 5 is 15. And here is the result. Then we have the multiplication. The multiplication, we do it Usually we see the multiplication done this way, 10 per 5, for example. But here we see syntax error. So this is how we in general do the multiplication, but in Python the multiplication is done using the asterisk. So the multiplication is this way, 10 per 5. Then we have the division. The division can be 10, and for the division symbol we use the backslash, just one backslash. 10 divided by 2, we get 5. Or we can try 45 divided by 2, get 22.5. Then we have another operation which is called the floor division. So the floor division gives us only the round number and skipping all the remainder. So for example, if we divide 21 divided by 2, it cannot be divided by 2 to have round numbers. So it will be 20 divided by 2, we get 10, and then 1 is the remainder. So if we do 21 floor division double backslash divided by 2, we get 10. And so just to give another example, we can say 100 floor division with 51. So 51 can stay in 100 only once, not more. Otherwise we will have 51 per 2, it will be 102. So it can be just, the result of this will be 1. 1, and there is 49 as a remainder. And we can also calculate the remainder. To calculate the remainder in Python, we'll use what is called the module operator, and it is done with the percentage sign. So in this case, we can do 100 in module of 51. So the floor division is 1, but we have a remainder of 49. Now the next operation that we want to see is the exponentiation. So the exponentiation of a number is the number to the power of. So if we have, for example, 2 to the power of 3, it will be 2 multiplied with 2 multiplied with 2, and it will be 2 per 2, 4 per 2, 8. And in Python is done using 2 times the asterisk. So 1 time the asterisk is the multiplication, and 2 i's will be 2 to the power of. And here we say 2 to the power of 3, and we get 8. So this operation corresponds to this 2 per 2 per 2, 8. And also in Python we can do more advanced expressions, so we can do more operations in just one line. So like this one, 5 plus 5 divided by 8. And keep in mind that it follows the mathematical rules, so the order in which the operations are processed is that multiplication and divisions are processed before, and then the multiplication is processed later. So if we do 10 plus 10 divided by 2, it is not 10 plus 10, 20 divided by 2, 10, but it is 10 plus 10 divided by 2, 10 divided by 2 is 5, 10 plus 5, 15. This is all that you need to know as basic of mathematical operations in Python. We're going to see now variables. In programming, when we want to save a value, we assign this value a what is called variable. So we can do it this way. We type the name of the variable, we can choose the name. So let's say I want to call this animals, and animals is equals to, and I choose a number 15. So each time that I want to access this value, I just say animals, I press enter, and now animals equals 15. And I can create as many as I want. I can create another one called people equals 3. So each time I type people and I press enter, so I'm accessing the value that I assigned to people, so 3. And we can treat them as the numbers that they contain. So if I want to make the sum of the animals plus the people, we can easily do it this way: animals plus people. In Python, we have certain rules to write variables. They have to be just letters and numbers. So we can say, for example, people 2 and say 8. So we have people 2, and I print this one 8, and if I access people, it's still 3. But instead of people 2, if I type 2 people equals and any other number 45, we see syntax error, invalid syntax. So the variables need to be in letters and numbers, but they have to start with a letter. So they cannot start with a number. So if I try any other character, like with a space, the people equals 51, we see invalid syntax, or the people 51, we cannot do this. And you can also use capital letters, but it's not used in general in practice. So if we say people 10, we access people and it's 10. And keep in mind that this people capital with the first letter, capital letter, is different than this one all in undercase letters. So if I access the people starting with the P undercase, people is 3. Now, a similar concept of the variables, we have the strings. Strings are like variable, but they contain text. So I can say sentence, and this is will assign a string to this one, and string can be assigned with apices, so the text must be between either single apices like this, and here the text. So let's say the cat is on the table, and I print the sentence, the cat is on the table. Or between double apices, let's create another sentence, sentence 2, and we'll put double apices. And between a new sentence, the dog is barking, and I call the sentence 2, the dog is barking. So it doesn't matter if we save it between double apices on single apices, they don't make any difference, so the sentences will be the same. So if I use again sentence 1, sentence, when we go to print them, we will see they are still between single apices. So what is the difference? Why we should use one instead the other? Now you will see. If we create another sentence, sentence 3, and we want to place some text between like double apices, let's say some quote, so we can say the text, Leonardo da Vinci said, and then we put his quote, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, and we press enter, and here we see invalid syntax. So when we open the apices and between we put the text for the string, then we open the second apices to put the quote from the author. In this case, Python is interpreting this as the end of the sentence. So we have two options to write this quote in this way. Either we open the string, we put the string between single apices, so sentence 3. So we put single apices and then we put Leonardo da Vinci said, and then simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. So this is one option. So if I run sentence 3, we see our text and then the quote. Another option is to use what is called escape character, and it is the backslash, and now we will see this. We can say sentence 3, Leonardo da Vinci said, and now we put the backslash, the quote, and then simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, then another escape character, and this. So each time we open some quote inside, each time we need to use the escape character, which is the backslash before the quotes when they are the same. And so we see we don't get any syntax error. And if I run sentence 3, here we see our string. This is all about strings and variables, and we will see in the next chapter what are types. We are now going to see data types. A variable can store different information and the type changes based on what is containing inside. So if we, for example, assign a number to a variable like bottles equals 5, we can check the type of this variable by typing type, then bottles, and then we press enter, and we see the data type for this variable is int, which is integer, because we put a number. If instead of 5 we put some sentence, hi, so sentence is a string between the apices. If we check the type of sentence, we see that we have a string. And it is really important to know the data type that they have, because if we don't do this, if we don't use them correctly, we might get some error. And now I'm going to give you an example. Let's say that we want to write a sentence where we say, like, we have 5 bottles. Sentence, and then we have plus bottles plus okay, now we bottles corresponds to 5, then now we say bottles of water, and we press enter. Now we see type error can only concatenate string, not integer, to string. So this is saying that we can only concatenate strings with strings, not with integer. Instead, if bottles was 5, like this, and we see type, and then bottles, we see string. So if now we try with the same sentence, we have plus bottles plus bottles of water. And now we check the sentence. We have 5 bottles of water. So now this number, which is between apices, is considered as string and not anymore as integer. So what if we want to make something more complex, that we want to use this as number? Let's say that we have number of bottles, and if we buy other number of bottles, we will have that number of bottles. Let's now do this with integer again. We convert bottles equals 5. So if we type bottles, this we see integer. And so let's create our new sentence. Sentence equals we have plus. Okay, now consider that this is an integer. We can convert this to a string. So we can say str, which is string, and we say bottles plus bottles of water. And if we buy 10 more bottles, we will have, and now we want to sum this 10 with this number, so we will say plus 10 plus bottles, and we want to convert these two numbers to a string, so string plus bottles. And let's see now the sentence. We have 5 bottles of water, and if we buy 10 more bottles, we will have 10 plus 5, 15 bottles. So now if we check type bottles is integer. If we check type of string, so we convert bottles to string with str bottles, and we check the type is a string. We can also do the inverse operation. So if we have some number inside a string, we can convert it into number. So if we have animals 15, but between apices, so this is a string, and we check animals, let's see type of animals, string. So let's say that animals is a string, but we want to make the sum of animals with people. So, and we have people equals 3, and people is an integer. So if now we do animals plus people, we get an error. Can only concatenate string with string, not integer to string. In this case, we have to convert animals to integer because we want to sum two numbers, so we need two numbers. We cannot sum a number with a text. So what we do, we can do it this way: integer, int, and then animals plus people. We get 18. And of course, you can use integer also with people. Nothing will change because people is already integer. So people plus int animals, also this way. We have seen for the moment only the string and the integer data types. We have many others that we will see in the following chapters when it is the right time for each of them. For the moment, it is just important to know that variables can contain different data types. And different data types needs to be treated in different way. Now we're going to see the Boolean data type. The Boolean data type, in comparison with the data types that we have seen before, can contain only two possible values. Either is true, either is false. So, for example, let's suppose that we want to make a website and we want to ask the user to have a requirement, a minimum age. So if the user has the requirement of the minimum age, so this variable can take the value of true. So is satisfied, true. And we can check the type, minimum age, and we see this is data type Boolean. If the user doesn't have the minimum age, let's say that minimum age is 18 years old and the user is 16, in this case minimum age equals to false. And keep in mind that when we set the Boolean data type true or false, this must be with capital letter T, capital letter F for false. So if, for example, we try minimum age equals true, we get an error. And this must be true, false without the apices, otherwise it would be a string. So if we say minimum age equals true, this is just a string. So if we check type minimum age, we see class string. And now that we have seen the Boolean data type, let's check and see the comparison operators, because the Boolean data type without the comparison operators will be pretty much useless. Because minimum age, how can you check if the user has the minimum age? So let's say that minimum age is 18 years old. Let's write it here. Minimum age equals 18. We can compare, so comparison operator, we can compare this with, let's say, my age 17, which is not my real age, my age 17. So let's check if my age is 17, do I have the minimum age? Let's see, is my age and minimum age false. So before going further, let me explain regarding the comparison operators. We have 6 different comparison operators. One checks if the first value is equal with the second value. So when we use a comparison operator, you see the difference when assigning a variable, because when we assign a variable, we use just one equal sign. When we are comparing two values, so in this case we are comparing two variables, my age and minimum age, we use 2 signs. So is my age equals with minimum age? And it is not, because my age here is 17, minimum age is 18, so it is false. So if now we check with this second comparison operator, is my age different than minimum age? True. So in this case, the requirement is satisfied. But if we have a minimum age, we shouldn't allow any different age than 18, because all the ages different, so above 18 and below 18 are allowed. So now we have seen the equals and the different operator. Now we will check the other one, which is greater operator. So greater operator we check is the first value, my age, is greater than the second value, minimum age. Is my age greater than the minimum age? My bad, I don't know what I did. My age greater than the minimum age? False. So pretty much we are just checking, is 17 greater than 18? Of course not, false. Is 18 greater than 17? Is true. Then we have greater than less. So is 17 less than 18? True. Is 18 less than 17? False. So now we have seen 4 different comparison operators: equals, different, greater, and less. Now let's see the last two. Last two will be 17. We have greater or equal. Is 17 greater or equal than 18? False. Is 18 greater or equal than 18? So in this case, checks if the first is greater or equal. So 18 equals 18, yes, true. Also 19 greater or equal than 18, true. And then the last comparison operator, less or equal. So 18 less or equal than 5, and it is false. 18 less or equal than 18. So 18 can be less or equal, and true. So getting back to our initial idea, to the minimum age requirement. The idea is that the age of the user is equal or greater than the minimum age. So if we want to use this, we could say minimum age is already 18, I believe. Minimum age, let's check this one, is 18, and my age is 17. So my age needs to be greater or equal than minimum age, and it is not. So in the case of our project, we are not allowed to enter in the website because we are not satisfying the minimum age. If my age, we change my age, let's say 21, my age greater or equals minimum age, true. Now, one last thing before closing this chapter, we can use comparison operators also with the strings. So, for example, apple is equal with apple, true. Apple equals with banana, false. Also check this one, apple equals to apple. What do you think about this one? False, because it is checking when we compare the string, doesn't check if only the letters are the same, but also if you change any letter, putting uppercase or lowercase, and they are different. So in this case, the condition is not satisfied. So apple, this apple is not equals with this, is not equal with this apple. So for the same values, if we say apple is different than apple, and this is true. And we will see in the next chapter how to use this operator to make some decision with Python. The if statement in Python is used to take a decision, and to explain this concept we're going to see this in a flow chart. Here we'll draw a chart, and we will see this with the previous requirement. So if the user age is greater or equal than the minimum age, So let's see, user age greater or equal than minimum age. Okay. So it depends on what's the result of this condition. So if the result is true, if the result is true, we want to allow the user into the website. So if the result is true, allow, or if the result is false, we deny the user to enter. So if the minimum age is 18 and the user age is 18, so the result will be true, we allow the user. If the user age is 17 or less, this will give false and we deny the user to enter. Let's see how to do this with Python. Now we are on the Python idle, but this time to make this code, let's create a Python file because it would be more clear on a clear Python file. So we go on File, New File, and here we can write our code. So we define the minimum age, 18. Then let's define user age 17, and now we check the if statement. So if the user age is greater or equal than minimum age, and in this case we want to allow the user print user, hi user, you are allowed to enter. Now let's save the Python file. File, save, and yeah, we can save it wherever we want, and I will save example. And when we save the Python file, it's just a file with the extension .py. So when you see this file, is it .py? You can just save here example and save as type Python file. So automatically it's going to be .py and save. And then we can write by pressing run. Here there is run module, so you can run it from here, or you can run it on Windows by pressing F5. And you see nothing gets printed. So because the user doesn't satisfy the requirement. User age 18. So if the user age is greater or equal, and it is not, this is not satisfied. So let me explain this better. Here we put the if condition, and then you see the print is not right here, but it is right here. So this is called the indentation. This is the Python syntax. While in the other languages it's not necessary, in Python this is mandatory. So if the syntax is wrong, so if we put the print statement right here, we press run, you see expected unintended block. So when we create a block like this one, here we have to press tab to give the space. So either tab or 4 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, sorry. So I press tab, and if this condition is satisfied, then this code is executed. So this is the if condition. So if user age greater or equal minimum age, do this. Then we have also the condition else. Print, hi user, you are not, let's put it this way to emphasize that the user is not allowed to enter. And let's save it. So if this is true, we execute this one, else this one. So we run this. Hi user, you are not allowed to enter. So the condition is false. So this block is not executed, instead this one is executed. So this is how it works if else. So if we change the user age to 21, so 21 we are allowed to enter, we run module, we see hi user, you are allowed to enter. Now I want to make this one just a little bit more interactive with the user. And to do this, I'm introducing the input. So now I will show exactly what is the input. So input is this Python function, which asks us to input something from the keyboard. So we can put, I put my name, Sergio, and later you will see how we can use this. So when you put the input, here the shell asks you to put an input. And here it is. We can use this one and I assign the input to a variable. So I can say my name and then input. And so I write my name and then my name, we can call the variable my name, and we see what we type with the keyboard. So the idea is that using the input, we can ask the user to input some information, and then based on the information, we will process this using the if-else statement. Let's do that. So now we're going to ask the user to input the age. So we begin here, print, hey user, well, how old are you? How old are you? Then user age, we ask input because we don't know it yet, and we stop right here and we press run module. Hey user, how old are you? And we say 15, and now we got an error, type error. So if you are familiar with some chapter before, you should understand this error. Type error, greater or equal, not supported between instances of string and integer. So one thing that I didn't tell is that input always takes a string whether you put a number or a name. So if I say my age and then input and I put 15 and then we say my age, you see the age between apices. So if we check the type, my age string. We can solve this by converting the age, my age, to an integer, int my age. So if we check now my age is 15. If we check the type of my age is integer. So we can do this in real time on our program. And it is really simple. So user age, we take the input and then it must be inside integer. We save this and we run our code. Hey user, how old are you? 15. Hi user, you are not allowed to enter. Let's run it again. Let's try a different age. Hey user, how old are you? 23. Hi user, you are allowed to enter. Let's make this program just a little bit more personalized. So let's also take the name. Hey user, what's your name? What's your name? And we take the name, username, input, and then print. Then we want to make a personalized message. Hi, name, how old are you? Hi, plus username, plus how old are you? And here we take the age right after we ask the age, and what else? We can end also with a personalized message. If the age is greater, so great plus username plus you're allowed to enter. Otherwise, sorry, plus username plus, but you're not allowed to enter. And we can run this one. Hey user, what's your name? Sergio. Hi Sergio, how old are you? 12. Sorry Sergio, but you're not allowed to enter. Let's try the other option. What's your name? Jack. How old are you? 45. Great Jack, you're allowed to enter. Before ending this chapter, I want to introduce another option about if else. So if our condition is not only true or false, but if we want more conditions, we have the option Elif. So if one thing, Elif, another thing, Elif. So to make this, let's think about, let's make 3 different messages. Less than 18, we will say you are too young. 18 years old, we will say, yeah, you are just on time. More than 18, great, you are old. Let's say this way. So if user age is less than minimum age, print you're too young. You are too young. Elif user age equals minimum age. Print just on time. Else welcome, you're old. So we're not using the username anymore. Okay, yeah, we are using the username, so let's keep this username. So if less than 18, we will execute this one. If 18, so if user age, minimum age, we'll execute this one. If none of these two, then we are going to execute this one. So we will save this and we're going to try this one. Hey user, what's your name? Jack. How old are you? 14. You are too young. Run. What's your name? Jack. How old are you? 18. Okay, we see there is an error. Elif user age on line 13. User age equals minimum age, and then it says name error, minimum age is not defined. So let's check line 13, and we have here on the bottom right the line where we are. So I'm going 10, 11, 12, 13. This one, user age minimum age, it is saying this one is not defined. But we have defined it here. So when you see this error, usually it's a typo. So if we compare the minimum age, it is correct. Minimum, the M is missing. So I believe there is a double typo because we haven't seen this error before. So user age less than minimum age. So we can run this again. So run. Hey user, what's your name? Jack. Hi Jack, how old are you? 18. Just on time. Let's try for the last condition. Run module. What's your name? Jack. Hey Jack, how old are you? 21. Welcome, you are old. And you can use how many Elif as you want. So Elif user age equals 19, print you are 19, and then we can run this module and we try hey user, what's your name? Jack. Hi Jack, how old are you? 19. You are 19. One last thing before ending this. When the condition is satisfied, the code below is not executed, even if the second condition is satisfied. So let's give an example. Let's say if user minimum age here is 18, and let's add here if user age is 17. Let's put you are 17. You are 17. So if user age is 17, we should see normally you are 17. But let's try this. Run module. Hey, what's your name? Pino. Hi Pino, how old are you? 17. And we see just you are too young. We don't see you are 17. Why this? If we go to our code, when we see the condition user age is less than minimum age, so is 17 less than 18? It is. So this code is executed, and all the code below is discarded, no matter if even this condition will be fine. So if this one is executed, it doesn't check anymore the other condition, and the code proceeds with the if statement is already satisfied, and all this code is not executed anymore. So when you work with if, Elif, keep in mind this because it is really important. We're going now to see lists. We create a list when we want to save more things into a variable. For example, we can create a list of even numbers. Let's say the even numbers from 2 to 10. So even number will be just 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So if we access even numbers, we will have here the list of the numbers. And we not only can create a list with numbers, but we can create a list with every data type that we have in Python. So we can create a list, for example, of programming languages, and let's add the name Python, C++, Java, JavaScript, and many others that I'm not going to add right now. We save this, and if I call programming languages, here we have the list of the few programming languages. Now that we know what a list is, we're going to see few functions with the list. So how we can access the information inside the list, so some specific element, how we can add or remove elements, how we can slice the list or concatenate the list, and a few other things. The first important thing to know about a list is to know how we can access a certain element inside the list. Let's say that from this list we want to access just Python. And to access this we use what is called index. And let's see what is the index. Programming languages. And here we put inside the brackets, just after the name of the list, we have to put a number, and the number is called index. The index is the position where the element in the list is placed, and it starts from 0 and then it goes positive. So 0 is the first element. So if we want to access Python, we need to put programming languages between the brackets index 0. So if we run this one, we see Python. The second element will be 1. So programming languages, and then 1, we get C++. So when we put the index, we access a certain element. And this can be done in this order, so starting from the first, or even in the reverse order. So if we want to access the last one, so programming languages, and especially if we don't know how many elements are in the list. So now we see 1, 2, 3, 4. So the last one, when we have 4, will be index 3, because we count 0, 1, 2, 3. So we can access this last one either index 3 or programming languages. The last one we can access it index -1, because we count backwards. So the second last one will be -2 and so on. So we can access even the first element, just saying -1, -2, -3, -4. What if you put an index that doesn't exist? Let's try. So we have 4 elements, so the maximum index is 3. Let's try with index 4. Programming languages. We want to access the element index 4. And of course we get an error, which is called index error, list index out of range. And now, using the indexes, let's see how we can slice a list. So we can take now the even numbers, and it works still with the indexes. But when we want to slice a list, so we don't use just one index, but we have to say start from and end here. So here we have the even numbers. We have index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say that we want to take only from we want to take 4, 6, and 8. So in this case we say start from index 1, so even numbers from index 1 to, so 1, 2, 3. Okay, what you see just 4 and 6, but we wanted to take 4, 6, and 8. So why do we see this? Well, when we want to slice a list, so even numbers, we have to take the starting from, so we start from index 1, the starting element is included, while the ending element is not included. So if we want to end on index 3, we have to say from 1 included to 4, which is not included, so it will end on index 3. And so if we run this, we see 4, 6, and 8. Let's now see how to add elements inside a list. So for example, if instead with even number, if instead of ending it to 10, we want to add also 12. So we can easily add elements to the list using append just after the list. So even numbers, then we say dot append. So here we are saying that we want to add some element to the list even number, and here inside we put the element that we want to add. So in this case we want to add the value 12. So even numbers, we see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. We can do the same also with the strings. So in programming languages, let's add some other programming languages. So programming languages dot append. So programming languages, we have Python, C++, Java, JavaScript. Let's say that we want add C#. So just here, of course, now it's a string, so just remember the apices and then C#. And so if we access programming languages and we run this one, we see Python, C++, Java, JavaScript, and C#. We have seen how to add elements. Now let's see how we can remove elements. So to remove the elements, we have two options. One is to remove the element by the index, so we need to know the position where the element is placed. So for example, if we want to remove C++ by the index, we know that the index is 1, so Python is 0, C++ is 1, Java 2, JavaScript 3, C# 4. So if we want to remove C++ by the index, we first of all type the list where we want to remove it from, programming languages dot pop, and here we have to put the index. So index 1 to remove C++. Okay, a typo, my bad. Not language but languages. So let's write again, programming languages dot pop 1 C++, and here it is telling which one was removed. Then programming languages Python, Java, JavaScript, C#. And now keep in mind, if you see the list now, of course when you remove some element, the index is changed, because before was Python 0, C++ 1, Java 2. Now there is not C++ anymore, so Python is 0, but Java is 1 now, because C++ is removed. So if we access programming languages 1, we see Java. So I told you there are two methods to remove the elements. One is with the index, the other one by the value. So if we know exactly what we want to remove, so let's say that now we want to remove JavaScript. So if we wanted to remove JavaScript with the index, it will be index 0, 1, 2, index 2. So it will be programming languages.pop 2. Instead, to remove it by the value, so we know exactly we want to remove JavaScript, so we will do it this way, programming languages dot remove, and here we type JavaScript. So if we access now programming languages, we see Python, Java, and C#. Now let's see something more about lists. We're going to see how to add two lists together, how to sort the list, and finally the data type with the list. So let's do this. How to add two lists together. So let's say to even numbers we want to add odd numbers also. So now we will create odd numbers from 1 to 12, so it will be 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. And so we want to create a list now of all numbers 1 to 12, all numbers, and this list will be the even numbers plus odd numbers. So if I show all numbers, we see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. And the order is given by the order in which we added them. So first we added even number and then odd number. So we see first 5 elements, I think 5, there should be 5 elements are even numbers. No, first 6 elements are even number and the last 6 elements are odd numbers. So this is how to add the list. We can sort the list. So all numbers dot sort, to sort the list from the smallest to the biggest. So if we see now all numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or we can sort from the biggest to the smallest, all numbers dot sort, and then here inside we say reverse equals true. All numbers 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and so on. When we sort a list with numbers, we will see the number from the smallest to the biggest. When we sort a list with strings, so with text, we will see this sorting in alphabetical order. So if we check programming languages, now we see Python, Java, C#. So in alphabetical order should be C#, Java, and Python. So if we do programming languages dot sort and then programming languages, we see C#, Java, and Python. And of course, even for this one, you can do reverse true, and it will put Python first, Java second, and C# third. One last thing about lists is that we can put different data types inside the list. So a list can contain, let's call this general list, where we'll put anything that we want. We can put numbers, we can put text, Python, and we can also put lists inside this list. So I'll put a list with some other element, 87, 54, general list. So let's see, general list, index 0, we access the number, general list, index 0, 1, 2, 3, index 3, we access the string, and general list, index -1, we access the list. So if we check the data types of each element, so type general list index 0, we see class integer, general list index 3, of course the type string, and finally type of general list index -1. and we see class list. And we have seen these operations with lists quickly right now, but if you want to access a summary of them, you can check the link on the blog and you will see their summary. So it will be easier for you to remember them. We are now going to see the for loop. We use the for loop in Python and in general in other programming languages to access the elements of the list one by one. Let me show you an example. We can create again a list of numbers, and then we can put just random numbers like this. Okay, before, when we wanted to show the numbers list, we would print numbers. So let me save this file because this is a new file. For loop, save. Let's run this one. Run module, and here we see the list. So 2, 5, 87, 4, 3, 5, 9, 11. So before, if we wanted to access each element one by one, we were doing it this way by using the index. So the first element is index 0. And so if I run this one, we see 2. So if we want to access all the elements in this list and print them, it will look something like this. So print, we have, let me count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and of course keep in mind when we have 8 of them, the last index is 7, because we start counting in programming from 0, not from 1. And so I save this one, and let's run this module now. So here is our list printed this way. When we have many numbers, it is not convenient for us to access the list this way when we want to work with each element. Instead, we use the for loop. So we can cancel everything we have here, and we can say for, that's why for loop, it starts with for. And now we define a variable that we can call as we want. We say n. Generally we use this, the first letter of what's here. So for numbers in n, for p in people. So that's just the practice, but you can put wherever you want. In for n in numbers. And now we go here and we print n. And also keep in mind the indentation. So when we create a for loop, then the block, you need here 4 spaces or tab indentation. And whatever is here is part of the for loop. So I save this one and let's run it. So you can see with just this simple code, we have now the same result. So it works this way, that the n, so the first time the letter n is 2. The second time letter n is 5. So the letter n is changing constantly while we loop through the numbers until the last number where the letter n is 1. So if after the loop we print n, it is still 1. So just to give you an idea how the for loop works. And now, why would you even need to loop through the elements? Well, I'm going now to give you a couple of examples to make you understand better why we can need the for loop. So one thing should be, if we want to make some operation with each number like one by one. So let's say that, for example, we want to double all the numbers one by one. So we can do in real time print n per 2. Run module. So we will have the first number is 2, so multiplied with 2 is 4. Second number is 5, multiplied by 2 is 10. The other is 87, multiplied by 2 is 174, and so on. We can use the for loops with any type of lists, not only with numbers. So we can try this with a list of names. So let's type names and then write a list of names. I have a few of them. So Liam, Noah, James, Oliver, Emma, Olivia, Ava, and let's keep just these names. So if we want to loop through these names, we will write for n in names, and now we print n. So the first n will be Liam, the second Noah, James, Oliver, and so on. And let's save this one and let's run the code. You see Liam, Noah, James, Oliver, Emma, Olivia, and Ava. And inside, so where all the code that we have here is repeated for each element that we loop through. So if I print, for example, welcome plus n, so I run this. Okay, welcome for each name, welcome Leah, like welcome Noah, welcome James. But also if I print either before, either after, print new line, you see we have new line, and then for the first name, again, new line, Noah, new line, James, and so on. And also inside here, we can do any operations we want. For example, we can use the if statement to make some program. So one idea that to exercise with this that we can use is, for example, to check the initial letters of the name. So we can try, for example, to print only the names which start with the letter O. So how can we do that? First of all, we need to access the first letter of each name. So to give an example, to access the first letter, if we have name 1 Liam, so the first letter we can access it, name 1, by the index 0, because it's the first, like we did for the list. First element, in this case, when we have a string, it's first letter L. So this is how we access the first letter of each string. So let's do one thing at a time. The first, in this case, the n is each time n for each different name. So n0 is the first letter. So let's print first letter. If we run this, we see LNJOEOA. So if you check this L and J, they are the initial letter of our names, L, N, J, O, E, O, A. So now that we know the first letter, if we want to have the condition to see if the first letter is the O, simply we can do it this way. If first letter equals O, then print. What do we want to print? We want to print the name, and name is n, so we print n. So it works this way. For n in names, it checks the first letter of the first name. If the first letter is O, it prints it. In this case, first letter is Liam, so it doesn't execute this code and it moves on to the next one, Noah. It checks first letter and is first letter equal to O? No, so it doesn't print this one and it goes on. So if we run this, you can see the only two names that we have that start with O are Oliver and Olivia. We are now going to see the while loop. The while loop keeps repeating until a certain condition is satisfied. So to give an example, we can write here the loop while, and now we set the condition. We say the condition is 4 greater than 3. So if 4 is greater than 3, we print hello. And so let's run this. Probably you don't see, okay, but this is printing non-stop. And this will go infinite. There is no way that we can stop this, like from the code. Well, on the shell, we can press Ctrl+C, so this to interrupt the execution of the code from the keyboard. This is the only way that we had to stop the while loop. So let me explain what happened here. We have while, so while 4 is greater than 3, then we print hello. So it starts, first time prints hello. Then it checks again the condition. Is 4 greater than 3? It is, prints hello. Then again, it is 4 greater than 3? Yes, print hello. And this will be infinite. It will be infinite because 4 is always greater than 3. So how we can stop the while loop? The only way in this case to stop the while loop is to change in real time this condition. So one way is to set a variable, let's say count, and we set this now to 0. And then here we say we start from count, while count is less than 10, for example, and we print the count. Print count. So now count is 0. Is count less than 10? Yes. So if we run this, count will still be always 0. Okay. This is like before. There is no way to stop the loop. So we press Ctrl+C. But now we have an option. As we have a variable here, we can change the value in real time. So count is, it starts while count, so 0 is less than 10. And now we do something. We print the count, but then count plus equal 1. So this is a way to add +1 to count. It's an abbreviation of doing count equals to count plus 1. So count plus equal 1. We run this and we see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So each time we add count. So count, while count is count less than 10? Yes. Then count plus 1. And count is now 1 is less than 10? Yes. Then we add a new one. Count is now 2. Is 2 less than 10? Yes, and so on. Then when we arrive at count 10. Is count less than 10? No, it's not. So this code is not executed anymore and the loop ends. So if we print loop ended, so once this condition is not valid anymore, this block is not executed anymore, and then we go to the next block of code. So this one is the next block of code. We know it's the next block of code because of the indentation. When we start from here, it's another block. When there is indentation, is inside the previous block. And so we run this, run module. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then loop ended. We're now going to see break, continue, and pass. These are statements that we use with the while loop and the for loop. Let's start with the break statement. So the break, like the word says, it is going to break the loop. So for example, we create a loop, while now we put a condition 0 equals 0, for example, a condition that it is going to be always true. So there is no way that we can change in real time this condition to break the loop. And also we're going to place a count equals 0. And then we're going to increase the count on each loop. Count plus equals 1. And then we're going to print the count. So we save this, we run this. So you see the number is always increasing because we're adding +1 on each loop, and there is no way for us to stop it. So now I can press only Ctrl+C to interrupt this with the keyboard. The only way that we have to stop this loop is to use the break statement. So after here we say break, and it's going to break the loop right away. So we run this, we see 1. The loop is broken. So count starts from 0, while 0 equals 0, so always while true. Count plus equals 1, we print the count, we break the loop. That's the end of the loop. And now we print loop ended. So to give you a confirmation that this breaks the loop, loop ended. So the break breaks this block of code. Of course, the code after this is executed normally. But of course, we don't want to use the break right away like this. Usually when you create the code, you use some condition to break the loop. So one way is to stop the loop at some point. So if the count equals 10, then in this case we break the loop. So break is only when this condition is satisfied. And so if we run this, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then loop ended. And this works only when the condition is satisfied. So if, for example, we say count plus equal 2, let's see now what happens. Even now, still it works because we get to 10. So 10 equals 10 and we break the loop. So count 10 equals 10, we break the loop. What if we say count plus equals 3? We run this and you see, now it keeps going non-stop until I press Ctrl+C. So in this case, we skip the number 10. We have never number 10 on the count, so this condition is never satisfied, so we never break the loop. So keep this in mind. Also, the break can be used with the for loop. So we're going to see an example quickly. With the for loop, we have to loop through a list. So let's create first a list, programming languages, and we are going to add Python, then C++, Java, JavaScript, C#, PHP, and let's use just these programming languages. And now let's loop through this for P in programming languages, then we print P. So we have 6 programming languages: Python, C++, Java, JavaScript, C#, PHP. Now let's say that we want to loop through the languages till Java, and then we want to skip all the rest. So we can do this using the break statement to break the loop in real time. So print P, then we need a condition if P equals, then in this case we said Java, so until Java is included. So Java, we print Java, then we check is this Java, is P equals Java. If so, we break. So we can say print breaking the loop. C, Python, C++, Java, and then breaking the loop. Now let's see the continue statement. So instead, the continue statement is this one, continue. We run this. Nothing here changes, and now we will see why. The continue statement is used to skip some element. So instead of breaking the loop, if we arrive at Java, it skips this code that is below. So if I put some code after this, print extra code, when there is Java, so if this is satisfied, so if P equals Java, then this code is not executed for this on this time of the loop where P is Java. And when like P is not Java, of course, this will be executed. Let's see an example for this. We run module. So we see Python, we have extra code, C++, extra code, Java. It goes straight to JavaScript. We don't have that extra code right there. Another way to put this would be just let's print some statement right here. Let's print, instead of some statement, print P right here, print P. So we want to print all the programming languages except Java. So we put this condition at the beginning of our loop. So if we see Java, we skip it, we go on the next one. So we run this, and we see Python, C++, JavaScript, C#, PHP, and no Java. And now let's see the last statement, pass. And pass, it will be used this way, pass. Pass doesn't do anything. So that's the only thing that you need to know. You use pass when you don't want to do anything. So for example, we run this. It doesn't happen anything, but at least you have correct code for the indentation. And it is not important to understand now when you will use it, but it's just important to know that this statement to do nothing exists. And so if we have the loop and we don't put anything and we run this, of course we get an error, because here when we have a block of code like for loop is expecting that we put something right here. But if we want to have the block of code, the loop, but we don't want to do anything, we put pass. It does nothing, but still we don't get any error. So if we run the module, it doesn't do anything, but it works without any errors. We're now going to see dictionaries in Python. But what is a dictionary? In the common sense, a dictionary is a book which contains the words and then the meaning of the words. In Python, the concept is really similar, with the only difference that words, we call them keys, and then the meaning of each key is the value. Let's see an example. Here we write dictionary, but you can call this variable as you want. Now we'll just say dictionary. And then to define a dictionary, we open curly brackets like this way. And then inside we need first to define the key. So now let's create a dictionary with some words and the meaning of the words. So I will say dog, and then colon. So this is the key. First we define the key, colon, and then the value of this key. So this corresponds to the word dog. And I'm going to copy the definition of a dog. So dog is a common animal with 4 legs. Then comma, and now after a comma we can add a new key with a new value. We add cat, and now let's look for the definition of cat. A small animal with 4 legs and a tail. Let's just leave this definition. Small animal and a tail. And tail. For the moment we will keep a dictionary with just 2 words. And now let's print the dictionary. I'm going to save this file, dictionary, and save it, and then I can run this, run module. So we see dog, then the meaning of the dog, cat, and then the meaning of cat. Also, to be sure that it is a dictionary, we can see the type dictionary. Let's run this and we see class dict. So why will be useful a dictionary? Why can't we just use lists and just put then dog and then the meaning and then cat and then the meaning? Well, dictionary makes it really simple to look for the key and then to get the value. So for example, if we want to get the value of dog, so on the dictionary we print, and on the dictionary we get the value. So it will be dictionary.get, and then what do we want to get? We want to get dog. So I save this, save and run module. None. Okay, none. I guess I did some mistake. So let me see. Okay. Well, I'm looking for dog, but I save it like dog lower letter when here I have capital letter. So keep this in mind when you look for the word. This has to be exactly the same. So I run this again, and we see when we look for dog, a common animal with 4 legs. What if we look for cat? So we do the same for cat, and then a small animal with four legs and tail. What if we look for something that it's not there? We can look for mosquito. We run this and we see none. So when it's not there, we get none. Now we are going to see how to add elements in a dictionary. So this is a way to add elements. We say dictionary, then we open the brackets, and here we put the new key we want to add in the dictionary. So like mosquito, then we say equals, and we will put the definition of mosquito: a small fly insect that bites people. So this is the mosquito, and we can run this now. So we added mosquito. So now if we want to find the mosquito, that's what we get. And dictionaries, similar to the list, can contain different types. So we use strings, as you can see here. So instead of printing, if we just printing the value, if we print the type, we will see that the value is a string. But what if, for example, we are building a website and we want to store like the age of our users, and we want the age to be like integer. So we will build a new dictionary, users age, and then we will have user 1, then his age 26, for example, then user 2, the age 74, user 3, and then the age 32. If we print user age dot get, and we want to get the age of user 2, and first of all let's get the age and then we will see the type. User age is not defined, so use print user's age. Run module, we will see 74, and then if we check the type, we run this, and now it is integer. Now, one last thing before ending this, we can use the dictionaries also with loops. So we can loop through a dictionary. And when we loop through a dictionary, we will get just the key. So for user, or for you, or user, like as you wish, in user's age, print u. We run this. User 1, user 2, user 3. And we can print the user with the age now. So let's get u is the name. So let's also get the age. So age equals, to get the age we need to get from the dictionary users age dot get, and here we have to put the name to get the age. So if we put user 1, we will get 26, user 2 74. As we are in a loop, our user is u, and now we can print user plus is plus now the age, and remember when we put an integer with a text, to put them together we need to convert the integers, so the age, into a string, so it has to be recognized as text. So we'll say str age plus, and then we say years old, and we run this. So we see user 1 is 26 years old, user 2 is 74 years old, user 3 is 32 years old. Let's see now the comments. We use the comments when we want to put some text that we don't want to execute. And we have two ways to put the comments. One is with the hashtag, which is called single line comment. And here we can put wherever we want. This is a single line comment. And so if we execute this code, let's save this one, comments, and let's run this one. So we see nothing happens when we execute this because it is just a comment. While if we don't use the hashtag and we run this, you see invalid syntax. So this is one way, and this is a single line comment. So everything that we put after, it is not treated as comment. On this idle, we see the comment is in red when we put the hashtag. The other way is the multiple line comments. We open them, so we open the multiple line comments with 3 apices, either double apices, either single apices, and we will see them how they work also. So this is a multiple line comment. So if I run this, works this way. And also if we use the single apices version, this is a multiple line comment, and this can extend for how many lines as you wish. And so if we run this, it works this way. Why would you need to write comments? Well, there are two main reasons why you are going to write comments. One is for you to remember and to explain what some function is doing on your code, so that you can remember when you read it after a long time. And second is if someone else is reading your code and has no clue of what your code is doing, so you can write in the comment, this function is doing this other function is doing this. Also, you can use the comment to temporarily comment some function that you don't want to use. Let's say that you print hi, and so if we run this, you see hi. But if you don't want to execute this code anymore, but you don't want to delete this code, then you can put a comment, and this will be treated as just as a comment. And if you run this, that one is not executed. We're going right now to see functions. We create functions when we want to simplify the code, so we want just a simple line of code will repeat multiple tasks at the same time. Let's see an example. We're going to create a function by writing def, and here we write the function's name. Let's make a simple function which prints 5 times hi. So like we say print hi, that's the name of the function, and then we put 2 parentheses. Here we can put extra parameters, but we will see that in a bit. For the moment, it's important to know that we can use the function also without putting anything here inside. Then colon, and here inside the code that will be executed when we call this. So we say print hi, And let's repeat this 5 times. 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's save this one. And keep in mind that with the indentation, so this code right here is inside the block function. So all this code below will be executed, will belong to this function. We run this and nothing happens because we just create a function. When you create a function, the function is not executed. The function is executed when we call the function. So now if we call the function print hi, that's our function, and then we need to put the parentheses. So when we execute this code, it is going to execute everything inside this function. Now, this function like this is pretty much useless. Let's do something that might be more useful. For example, if we want to calculate the mean between two numbers, we will do it this way. First of all, we make the sum of the numbers. Let's say that we want to calculate the mean value of 51 and 32. So first we are going to sum these numbers. So 51 plus 32 is 83, and then this is divided by 2. So the mean number is 41.5. We can make a simple function to do this for us. So let's go back here. So we can create a new function, def calculate mean. So now, how do we give the two numbers to the function? Because we want to use this function to calculate different numbers each time that we call it. So that's how we use this to pass the parameters. We say numbers, number 1, number 2. So here we give the number 1, here the number 2. And then the result equals then number 1 plus number 2, and then divided by 2. Let's save this and let's run this. So calculate mean. We want to calculate the mean again of 51 and now 32, and we press enter. Okay, what you see now, we didn't get anything in return. This just happened because the function isn't complete yet, so there is something missing that I want to explain. When we create a function, we want here to happen something, but also we want to return the value. So return at the end of the function, so after all the code that is here inside, we put return, and then we want to give in return the result. And we save this, and now let's run this again. Calculate mean 51, 32, and you see now 41.5. But we can use this function also with other numbers. Calculate mean 10 and 12, and you see how well this works. What if we want to calculate the mean of 3 numbers and not just 2? Let's try that one. Calculate mean, so 10, 15 and 3, and let's run this. Now you see type error. Calculate mean takes 2 positional arguments, but 3 were given. So it is saying that we can only put 2 numbers, but we gave 3 numbers. So as you can see right here, when you create a function, you need to exactly put the number of parameters that you are going to take. So here we have number 1, number 2. In case we wanted to make it for 3 numbers, it will be number 3. And so here it is taking 3 numbers, and then the result we need to sum number 1, number 2, and number 3. Num3. We run this and then calculate min 10, 15, and 3. We got 14. Calculate min. And of course, if now we try with just 2 arguments, then we're going to get an error. So when you work with functions, keep this in mind. One last but really important thing that you need to know about function is that the variable used on the functions work only within the function. So to give an example, here we are using number 1, number 2, and number 3. If, for example, let's remove this. Before the function we define number 1, ten, number 2, 15, number 3, 7. And we run this. Then we call the function calculate min. You see now it is asking for the 3 arguments, so number 1, number 2, and number 3. So what we define here as a variable, these 3 numbers, they don't work here. So it is not the same. These within the function correspond to all the elements inside the functions, but not the one outside. So if, for example, let's try this. We call number 1 is 10, number 2 is 15, number 3 is 7. Calculate min. Let's now give different numbers. So number 1 we say 48, number 2 85, and number 3 2. Now the mean is 67.5. What if we call now number 1 again? Number 1, you see it is still 10, even if here we gave 48, because they are not connected in any way. So this is really important to know. In addition to the functions that we have seen till now, Python has what is called the Python standard library. Python standard library has a lot of modules that we can use to make some more advanced operations with Python. So we can check it here. If we go on the official documentation, docs python.org, then library, here we see the Python standard library. You have to know regarding the Python standard library that there are 2 main things. One, that we have the built-in functions, and then that we have functions that we need to import to use them. Now let's see what are the built-in functions. One example of the built-in functions, we used it before, and they were like this string. So if we wanted to convert a number into a string, so str, so this is already built in. You don't have to import anything else. This is a built-in function that we can use. Or like input, to ask the input of a user, like this one, or to convert a string to a number. So int, we put a number like a string and we convert it into an integer. So these are part of this of the built-in library. So if we check here, we have like built-in types, and I'm going to show you some other really useful example from the built-in library. One of the most useful for me usually is this text sequence to work with the strings. So if, for example, we want to see if a string has capital letter or not, we can use this built-in library. If we want to put all the letters in lowercase, we can use this built-in library. So let's see an example from the method. Here we have all the string methods, so we see str capitalize, str case fold, and there are many. Just we can go down and there are a lot just for the strings. And so let's try with the first one. So we see string methods. We see here the method. So this method is the same one that we need to use. And then what this method does. This string capitalize return a copy of the string with its first character capitalized and the rest lowercase. So if we say name and we put everything lowercase, according to the documentation, if we apply the method capitalize, the first letter is going to be uppercase letter and all the rest is going to be lowercase. And the method works this way. First we call our string, then dot, and then we use the method. Okay, we can also see here it suggests all the method already. Capitalize, and then do remember to use the parentheses. And you see Jack, so the first letter has been capitalized. So this is one example of the built-in functions. So let's see another one. Let's say that we have name. Now, of course, we didn't save it, so now it's lowercase. Let's now put everything in uppercase. Name Jack. If we want everything lowercase, we can call the method name dot lower. That you find this one here on the standard library. So it is in alphabetical order. So if we go to string dot lower, return a copy of string with all the case characters converted to lowercase. So lower, or you can use some method to ask, like, is this like lowercase? For example, name dot is lower false. Is lower false? Why false? Okay, because now it is not lower, because if we print it, yeah, Jack, now it is not lower. Instead, if name Jack, now is name is lower? Yes, true. Okay, this is regarding the built-in libraries. What if we use the other libraries? So let's see on the documentation, let's go back. So we have the built-in types, and then we have the modules, like you see here, that they are not built-in, we need to import them. They are already part of the library, so they are already installed, but to use them, we need to import them. We have regex, regular expression operations, we have something more advanced for the strings, the datetime, calendar, numeric mathematical modules, what else? Generic operations, system services. You have file formats, so you can import CSV file and work with this CSV file. You can compress files into gzip format. You have database, SQL, and many other things that you can check here. Now let's see how to import a module. For example, we want the module time. So time, access, and conversions. Time. So when we want to import a module, we have to import the module simply this way: import time. And so you see here is the name of the module. So you put import and then the name of the module, time. Once you import the module, you can use the functions by calling time dot and then the name of the function. I'm going to use one that I use usual, and it is this one, time.sleep. This time.sleep suspend the execution of the calling thread. So if you want to wait a few seconds before doing something, you can use time.sleep, and then here inside you put how many seconds you want to wait. And so we can say time.sleep 5, and then if you run this, it is waiting. It does nothing for 5 seconds. So this is a way to import the entire library. There is another way if you only want to import a single function from that library. And let's try with another example. I'm going to use the math library here, mathematical functions. And from this one, I'm going to use this method asqrt to return the square root of x. So if you import the entire library, import math, and you want the square root of 9, so it will be math.asqrt of 9, and this is 3. If you don't want to have all the functions of the library, because the library math has a lot of other functions, so like all of these that we see here, but we want only asqrt, we can just import that one. So we can do from math, we import asqrt. So when we call the library, we just say asqrt of 9, and we see 3. We're going now to build the first project in Python. The knowledge you already have is enough to build some project, and you can do much more than you think, because when you have some idea, now you will learn also how to look for some solution on the web. We're now going to build a translator. So the idea is that we ask a user to input a sentence in English, and then we're going to translate this into another language. Now I'm going to choose Spanish. So let's start first of all creating a dictionary where we put the English words and then the translation in Spanish. So eng esp, and then we open curly brackets, so you remember dictionaries. We put first word hi, the Spanish translation hola. Then let's put a few other fine, bien, I guess, bien. Then thanks, then gracias, then how. Okay, now we are putting a sentence. How are you? Because you cannot translate just single words. We need also sentences. How are you? And then ¿Cómo estás? Now let's write a sentence. Sentence. Hi, how are you? So now we have to think a way that we can use to find and translate this sentence. So one way would be to take each single word of the sentence and then look for that word on the dictionary. So that's how you would do in real life. Like if we wouldn't have any online translator, we will just look for the word and then look for the word in a dictionary. So let's try this one. So let's try with the solutions that come to the mind. And now the first problem. we have a sentence, but now we need just the words. And how do we take the words? And so in this case, considering it is an operation with the strings, we can look for our solution on the standard library. We go on the documentation of Python standard library, and then on the built-in types, we have text sequence for the strings. And here we have all the methods that we can use for the string. So capitalize that we have seen before, case fold, return a case fold copy of the string, center, count. So it is a good practice if you try most of them so that you can learn. But now for our project, we need some method to split the words. So here we see string.split and returns a list of the words in the string. And here we see an example, string dot split. And here you can use the separator. So here it is telling how to use the function. And well, it works that we can just use dot split. And so we can try this one. Let's see how this works. So let's try to write a sentence equals hi, how are you? And then sentence equals sentence dot split. So this is the solution that was given there. So if now we run sentence, great. Now we see this sentence into a list. So each word is on the list. So now let's go back to our code. Now that we know how to split each word, let's also copy the code here. Sentence equals sentence dot split. Now the first thing that we need to do is to put this in a loop so that we can work with each single word at a time. So for word in sentence, and then let's print word. And before proceeding, I will suggest always to run the code to make sure that we're going on the right direction so that there are no errors. Hi, how are you? Okay, now for each word now we need to find the translation. So to find the translation, we take the word. So here we have each single word and we look for that word inside the dictionary. So translation equals, then we have here the dictionary, so we type the dictionary and esp dot get to get the key from a dictionary, and then we want to get the value of what? Of word. And now we print word and we also print the translation. And we run this one. Okay, another problem. So hi, none. How, none. Are, none. You, none. When there is no translation, if you remember from dictionaries, the result is none. So it is saying that he didn't find anything. And now we might wonder, like, why? So we go back and let's check ourselves. So like, is hi on the dictionary? Well, not exactly. This hi is capital letter while this one is not. Then is how on the dictionary? It is not, because we have a full sentence, how are you? This is not on the dictionary. And so how can we solve this? Well, most likely we choose the wrong path, and if we're trying to split each single word of the original sentence, this is going to be really hard for us. So this was one way to do our program, which seems tough and not the right way. So what we do, we can either cancel the code or we can comment the code if we are not sure. So let's suppose that it might be a good solution later if we want to improve it. So I don't want to cancel this. So we are going to comment this part of the code. So this code is not executed, but still it's still here in case we need it later. Instead, let's try another solution. So solution 1 was cut the sentence into words and then look for each word on the dictionary, which didn't work in our case because our dictionary has not only words but also sentences. What if we try a second solution? Instead of looping through the words in the sentence, why don't we loop through the words in the dictionary, and we say if we have this in the dictionary, then replace it on the sentence. And so let's do this. Sentence, we don't want to split the sentence anymore. Instead, we do for word in and esp word, even if it's not exactly correct to say word, let's say okay, let's say word. Like I was saying, it is not correct because if we have some sentence, it can be misleading. So the code is correct, but you need to write the code in a way that if you read it, it's not misleading on the purpose. So if you print words, so just to give an example, word. So now we're printing words, but then you run this, hi, word, this is not a word, this is a sentence. So that's why I was saying word probably is not like the best things to write. But anyway, so now we come to another problem that we haven't seen when we were learning the Python basics. So like, how do we look words or sentence in a sentence? And so even in this case, we refer to the official standard library to find some method with the string to find and replace. So here we see str.replace return a copy of the string with all occurrences of substring replaced by new. And if we see here, so here old, so here we should put the sentence that we want or the word that we want to find on the sentence, and here the new words we want to replace it with. So let's try this one. Let's see if we still have the sentence. Hi, how are you? Okay. So let's say that we want to replace hi with hola. So like sentence dot replace, then we want to replace what? We want to replace hi and we want to put hola. And hola, how are you? Okay, that's the idea. So, and we see it works. And then let's see if sentence. Okay, now it didn't change because we are replacing, but we are not assigning to anything. So sentence equals, okay, and now sentence dot replace hi and then hola. So now here we replace that, but then also the sentence we change variable sentence with the new one. And so if we call sentence hola, how are you, and then with the next one, okay, we replace, I'll now replace the next one. Sentence equals sentence dot replace, and then how are you with ¿cómo estás? And then sentence, hola, ¿cómo estás? Okay, this is really easy. So we can do this ourselves in real time with the other code, Translator. Okay, now Word. So we need to replace this on the sentence. So sentence dot, so sentence equals sentence dot replace, and now we don't write the word anymore, so we don't write like hi or all the words, because each word on the loop is this one word, and then we want to replace it with what? We want to replace the word with the translation. So first of all, we need to get the translation. So I'm going to put a comment right here. Translation, and then the translation is the value of the word in the dictionary. So from the dictionary and asp, we take dot get, and we want to get word. So sentence, and then replace the sentence with the translation. And now let's at the end print out of the loop, print the sentence. And let's run this. Hi, ¿cómo estás? Okay, you see, ¿cómo estás was translated while hi wasn't translated. And if we check, the reason why this happened is that here we have hi, capital letter, and here we have hi with lowercase. So if, for example, we try here to say hi, we see hola, and the translation is correct. But of course, we cannot ask the user, hey, just put lowercase letters. That's not how it works. Instead, we have to find the solution for this. So sentence equals sentence dot lowercase. That's all. So if we run this one, now it's capital letter, this one is lowercase. If this solution worked, also our code should work. Lowercase and lowercase. So I'm getting some error. Okay, lower, not lowercase. So it was just sentence.lower. So if we run this one, hola, ¿cómo estás? Let's also try with something that it's not on our dictionary to see what happens. Hi, how are you? What did you do today? And let's run this. Okay, we see hola, ¿cómo estás? The part that can be translated or translator. What did you do today is like this, because there is no translation. So that's what you want to have. So if there is no translation, you will leave the word in the original language. Better than have not have any words. And so it's fair. It's fine to have it this way. Okay, now we are at a good point. Now, one thing that we should do is to ask the user to input the sentence so that we make the program interactive. So instead of sentence and we put the sentence right here, we ask for the input. And so if we run this, now it input, hi, how are you? Hola, ¿cómo estás? So this is in real-time translator. We can also print something before, like print write a sentence and I'll translate it into Spanish for you. Input. And let's write it. Write a sentence and I'll translate it into Spanish for you. Thanks, gracias. One thing that we would like to add is also to keep the code executing, because now, yes, we wrote something, but now I still want to translate another sentence, and if we want to do that, we will have to run the code again. So what is the way to keep something running forever? It's a loop. And we have seen both loops, the for loop that we use here, but a loop that runs forever is the while loop. So let's do this in order. First, we ask to the user the question, write a sentence and I'll translate it in Spanish for you. And then we put everything while, and here we need to put the condition. And as we want to run this infinite, we can just say true. So until this is true, it will keep running. And then all this code must be inside the loop. All the code that we want to keep running forever. And so let's try this. Run. Write a sentence and translate it into Spanish for you. Hi. Hola. And now you see the code didn't stop running, but now again it's the same code, it's on the next loop, and now we can do how. Okay, there is no translation for how. How are you? ¿Cómo estás? Fine, bien, thanks, gracias. And so I'll go back here. How can we stop the loop? Well, there is no nice way right now to stop the loop. We cannot really stop it unless we do a Ctrl+C, which is keyboard interact in Python, but there is not a good way to quit. We want like a nice way to quit our program. So the way to quit the program is to stop the loop. And we have seen in some of the previous lessons a few ways to stop a loop. One was to change this condition in real time. Another one is to use a break statement. So when we reach break, we want to break the loop. And so one way we can do this is to check each time the sentence. And we can say, if you write quit, then we're going to break the loop. So if sentence equals quit, then break. This is pretty much what we need to do. And so at the end, print closing the translator. Bye. And okay, word sentence I'll translate it into Spanish for you. Print type quit. Do you remember this one? When we want to use apices right here, we need an escape character for the first apices and then for the second. Otherwise, it considers this first apices like we're closing the string. So we need escape characters. Type quit to close. type quit and press enter to close, and press enter to quit. It will make more sense to quit. And so let's try this one. Okay, write a sentence and I'll translate it into Spanish for you. Type quit and press enter to quit. Hi, hola, ¿cómo es? How are you? ¿Cómo estás? And then we type quit. Well, probably this is also a Python function, quit. I'm not sure if it will quit anyway, because quit. Use quit. I'm not sure if this was going to quit anyway, so let's try another sentence that is not part of the Python functions. Ask. So let's say type ask to quit. Ask. Let's run this again, because you see this color when we have some Python function, it has this color to change with the rest of the things. So like try with hey, which we don't have. Hey, hi, how are you? Fine. And then ask. Okay, closing the translator. Bye. This was the last chapter of the course. I hope you enjoyed the course, and if you arrived till here, congratulations, because now you have already a good basis to work with Python. Of course, you need to consider this one like a starting point on which you have to build up more knowledge to do more advanced projects. So for example, you will need next to learn what is object-oriented programming. You will need to learn how to install and work with external libraries, because to build more advanced projects depending on the field, you will need to use external libraries. For example, if you want to work with the web development, you will need either Django, either Flask. If you want to work with data analysis, you will need libraries like Pandas to import like the data, and like matplotlib to plot like the data. Or like if you want to work with deep learning, you will need to learn some deep learning framework still with Python, which can be either TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch, or other that are available. Or if you want to learn computer vision like I teach in this channel, so if you're interested into computer vision, you can follow this channel. You need to learn OpenCV, and I have about OpenCV a lot of videos, and also I have a full video course about computer vision for more advanced students on my website. So I wish you good luck with your projects, and that you will make good use of the knowledge that you got today with this video. Bye.